Hi there, it's Bruce Wallace from Dundee and Victoria Chess Club in Bonnie, Scotland, and I've got here a game from Jacob Aagaard, who won the British Championship this year outright. Jacob is originally from Denmark, but now lives in Scotland, considers himself a Scottish citizen, and has just been awarded his Grandmaster title after his tremendous performance in the British Championship. Here he's playing Mark Hebden, the Grandmaster from England, who has black. And let's kick off the game. Jacob plays e4, then e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and we have a Royal Lopez here. a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5. All this is very normal. Bishop b3, castles, c3, d6, h3, preventing the bishop pinning the knight, knight a5, bishop c2. And Roy Lopez players will realise that they can almost be on autopilot in this opening. All these moves have been seen many times before. c5 in a very common position in the Roy Lopez. d4, queen c7. Bishop b7 could have been played there. Knight b to d2, c takes d, and then rook d8. An unusual move in the opening, so Aagaard decides to merely close up the position. Knight b7, preparing the knight to come to c5, but Aagaard notes that this does cause black some loss of flexibility. Knight f1, a5, bishop e3, and bishop e3 can be played because the e4 pawn is defended twice, and it's a common motif in the Roy Lopez for the e4 pawn to be overprotected and for white to play tactically around it. Knight c5, knight g3, bishop d7, rook c1, and white is well centralised now. Black still to develop his a8 rook. Rook d to c8, knight h4, g6, f4, opening up the position now. And an interesting move from Hebden here, knight g4. If, for example, pawn takes, we've got a number of different moves. E takes f4. The knight on h4 here is en prise and can be picked up at any time. And this is a pawn sacrifice that black is intending here. However, after h takes g4, another line being bishop takes, queen to f3, e takes f4, queen takes, f6, queen f3, b4, with actually slight advantage to black. However, after knight g4, Aagaard didn't go in for any of these variations, and he played a counter sack. Knight takes g6, which gives white advantage. Pawn took, and then pawn took knight, pawn took pawn, bishop took, bishop h4, pinning the knight, king h2, rook f8, and now Aagaard played a very good move. He played bishop h6, putting the question to the rook here, and Shredder recommended in fact that the rook should retreat and then white would seize the f file, and we can see basically that the e-pawn is still well protected. And then b4 from black, rook f4, bishop b5, and then queen d4, and white is beautifully centralised, better developed, and has a good edge here in the game. However, after bishop h6, Hebden played queen d8, which has to be countered as a mistake. Here immediately, white could have taken the rook with advantage. Queen takes f8, queen d2, and more than a pawn advantage according to Shredder here. But Hebden decided on this occasion, after bishop h6, he played queen d8, and then white continued with queen d2. Probably better straight away there would have been bishop just takes the exchange, queen takes, queen d2, and big advantage. However, after queen d8, queen d2, then queen e7, and then e5, and white's advantage now is really growing because he's opening up the position here with decisive threats. Bishop takes g4, then queen d4, and white's advantage is enormous now, centralizing the queen with the king boxed in on g8, and all his pieces very active here. A very good position. Hebden now exchanged the dark square bishop on g3, king took, then bishop h5. Now Aagaard accepted the exchange, rook takes, then e takes d5, attacking the queen, queen g5 check, king h2, knight d7, and the advantage to white now is overwhelming. Rook f1, offering in the exchange of rooks, and here black played knight f6. Instead of knight f6, recommended here was bishop f3 by black, and you have rook takes, and then rook takes, g takes, queen takes rook, but white is still winning here, although the advantage isn't so great. However, after rook f1, black played knight f6, and now Aagaard produced a nice finish here with rook takes f6, an exchange sacrifice, rook takes. So he's given back the exchange, but these passed pawns are now decisive. d7, rook d6, and a lovely move here from Aagaard, bishop b3, and this threatens rook c8 check, and is a decisive threat which finishes the game off quite quickly. a4, then rook c8 check, king f7, d8 queen, rook t8 takes d8, and then rook c7 check, and black resigned because it's actually mate in 6 here. We just follow one continuation to round off. If it's any move by the king out of check here, it's queen h8 mate, so black has to give up masses of material here to avoid that. So instead of king f8, if black would have to interpose the rook, and then it's finished. King e8, rook c7, and now mate in 4. So a really good game by Aagaard there, and I think we'll actually show some more games of Aagaard because he's an up-and-coming player and doing very well at the moment, just having achieved his Grandmaster title, and must be the top player in Scotland at the moment. Hope you enjoyed this, and see you soon.